Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to all of you and yours. And initially, I was laughing because the flat earther, knuckle-dragging simps who all flooded the streets over the weekend, it's so funny. It's so easy and funny, and it triggered so many people when I went on Facebook and mocked them. And so I was the target of attacks from over 65 white liberal boomers, which I'm always glad to engage in. It was great. Anyway, then I laughed because I pre-laughed because so we have the computer here, and it goes from a screen and then to the video on Facebook. And Ashlyn will occasionally hit just the right note, maybe by accident, and say, are you ready to transition? And I'm like, and that's transition the camera, but I can't help but think about how funny that is because I'm like, saying I'm not ready to transition yet. That is. It is funny because they say the transition thing on Facebook. So over the weekend, so I put this little paragraph up on Facebook. It's like almost 1,000 people responding to it. And all it said is it looked like a casting call for a remake of Cocoon. And then I pointed out all the people in Britain who actually have a king doing a No King's March 250 years after we actually did the best No King's March of all, because we were accompanied by a bunch of musket balls and muskets, and that was an enjoyable one. But it was so funny. It was very simple. But, people there were a lot of people who loved it. But there were also a few people, and you know what's weird is you can always tell when you really make left-wingers mad, because left-wingers, even when they're old, white, bitchy old boomers, will sexualize their attacks on you, which is really kind of weird. Like everything is related to some kind of aggressive, sexual type of thing, or they'll call you gay. It's weird. Like the liberals, the first thing they do when they get angry is they insinuate you're gay. Which is like really weird because I thought you guys were the open-minded people and the pride flag people, everything else. But they're at the moment's notice, the first thing they do is cut right to the whole gay thing, which is really weird. I mean, there's a psychology involved in that is really strange. I mean, you remember when Gavin Newsom went over to across the ocean to this World Economic Forum and was handing out knee pads for people. I mean, I'm like, you guys, do you realize how really idiotic you look? And this is the other thing, and this is a little more. I had somebody call the station this morning. She's the same woman, always bitching about something, that I say. So she must follow every single word. So, chick, perk up your ears because I got another one for you. So here's the situation, and I'll put this up later because I want to make sure everybody understands that watching all of the No Kings protest, I'm like, do not be fooled in any way, shape, or form. And I call them the flat earther, knuckle-dragging simps because that's exactly what they are. So I'm going to point out that it's interesting, these No Kings people. When you look at the people on the street, I want you to remember these were the same people that followed every command from Dr. Fauci, King Fauci. These are the same people who forced vaccinations, who supported the firing of our military when they didn't get vaccinated, forced vaccinations of 20-year-olds who ultimately, some of them died. These are the same people. I'm telling you, the faces you see out on the streets, look up the pictures on the Post-Dispatch, look at the video. These were all the same people who forced masking, who forced churches to close, who forced schools to close, who forced even children to wear masks and juice themselves up with all that nonsense hand cream or whatever the hell it was. They closed restaurants. They closed businesses. They reported to people at the command of Dr. Fauci when somebody was somehow, in some way, in errancy as it relates to the king's COVID commands. And what's really crazy is these same people, the people you see out on the streets talking about no kings, they were the same people who also wound up letting their brothers and sisters die alone in hospitals because they were so afraid of their own fate, because they're such inveterate cowards, because all they could think about was the commands of their king, Dr. Fauci. These people were nowhere to be found when actually a guy who really pretended like he was the king was running roughshod over the country. And I don't even need to bring up Obama. But these are all your usual suspects, your typical white lib, bitchy boomers who ruined our lives for 5 years. And they're all out on the streets, every single one of them out on the streets. And I guarantee you every single one of them was a creepy COVID, as we called them, branch COVIDians. They were part of a cult that was run by King Fauci. So pardon me if I look at your signs and I see no kings and I laugh my butt off because of your hypocrisy and your phoniness and everything else. And you know what's really crazy is somebody, when they went on my page, acted as if you're making fun. You're attacking the greatest generation, the ones that you always cite as being heroes and everything else. And I said, dude, those people are not the greatest generation out on the streets over the weekend. Those are the sons and daughters of the greatest generation. Those are the sons and daughters of people who freed the world and freed this country. The same sons and daughters who betrayed the greatest generation that gave birth to them, betrayed the greatest generation that gave birth to them by goose-stepping for a bunch of garbage science and ruining this country for at least a period of time before we got President Trump back, which is why they're all pissed, because they really just want control. They just want control. They want to be able to make sure that little nest eggs are all taken care of, which they are, by the way. The 401ks have been skyrocketing. I realize there has been a little jump here and there. And by the way, these are the same people, the No Kings people. These are the same people who were out on the streets when Elon Musk dared to try and control spending and outsized spending that was making us all pay higher taxes. Those bitchy old white liberal boomers don't pay a dime in taxes. So that's the reality. So pardon me if I look at you and I just see a bunch of white liberal bitchy old boomer clowns. That's what I see. And you try not to be harsh, but I noticed people were like, oh, these are all people just simply exercising their freedom. It's like, oh, interesting. You didn't like freedom back in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, when you were obeying and boot sniffing your king, Dr. Fauci. So you guys kidding no one in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of us were kind of just dismissing it. It was just kind of a joke. But when you consider that these people, every single one of them, probably right down to the last name, were all part of the COVID corruption and the lockdown of this country and the destruction of it, the suffering of it, the missed graduations, the missed sports seasons, the ruination of careers of their own grandchildren. These people have no soul. They are a bunch of moronic, flat earther lemmings, and they actually should all be ashamed of themselves for showing their faces out on the streets with their No King protests. And I realize, I'm taking it a little more serious than some other people just writing it off, but you really have to realize that these people were part of a major crime committed against this country that had everything to do with royalty and a king, and it was Fauci. So that is the reality. This is not game time. These people need to be suffocated on the national stage and in our communications and everything else, and should not be let off the hook for what they did to this country and how hypocritical they really are. Scott Jennings went on the CNN panel and had a little fun with the flat earthers yesterday.
These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, Republicans.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flags?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch of them.
That, and that is.
I don't even know who that is, but the reality is this whole No Kings thing, everybody talked about it. Well, not everybody, but most of the news media, the liberal news media, we talked about it like it was some kind of unbelievable act of exercising your pushing the democracy, the beautiful freedoms that we all enjoy. And these people wouldn't know freedom if it fell out of the sky and landed on their gray blue hair. And no one is kidding anybody about who these people are and exactly what they're doing. And they're a bunch of sore losers, aside from being just a bunch of simps for the Democrat Party. And, what's funny is in the end, when this was all going on, these people, anybody who questioned it was just absolutely attacked by all the liberals who came out of the woodwork. But I enjoyed it over the weekend, sparring with some of these people, and some of them, because they don't have real names, right? So they go on the social media, and because they don't have the courage of their convictions to actually say their real names, I tend not to really respond to people who aren't real people, but sometimes I do it anyway because it's just fun. You know what I'm saying? Hey, check this out. Jim Talent is soon to be in the house, and there is audio from a call. It's a leaked call of a Muslim candidate for the state Senate in Michigan. And unfortunately, it's going to probably confirm everything you suspected about some of those people in Michigan. We'll follow up on that, too. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
The Iranian regime is telling the world and Iranians we are defeating the U.S. and Israel. Now, that's a pretty brazen lie when you see video after video of Iranian military sites vaporized. Iran has been using missiles and drones to hit targets in neighboring states and warning Americans, we will attack and kill you at vacation spots, especially in Europe. So the Iran leaders have to be taken seriously, but to claim they are winning? If so, riddle me this. Why is Iran now planning to use children as young as 12 to fight? You heard me, kids as young as 12. Well, Iran insists the kids want to join the battle, and that could be true for those in the snares of jihadism. But this is also the first step to drafting the kids to fight. Supposedly boys, no indication girls would be drafted, would be used only to man checkpoints and patrols, not actual combat. Right. The cruel hard fact for these children, if they join or are drafted, they're going to be sent to do whatever the mullahs decide. Future generations of Iranians could disappear.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. The Allman Report, sponsored by Grasser Home Services.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, super happy to be with you. Ashlyn right there. Happy, beautiful Monday, everyone. One thing we need to establish here, because there are a lot of people who must be confused about this. If you're 65 and you are a white, liberal, bitchy baby boomer, you're not a member of the greatest generation, okay? Let's get that out of the way. You're the people who rewound the work that your mom and dad did to save the world of this country. I just got news for you, because when I put that post up on Facebook and mocking these knuckle draggers out there on the streets with their No Kings rally, they're like, you're attacking the greatest generation. I'm like, pardon me, but these are not members of the greatest generation. They're the ones who betrayed the greatest generation, their parents, and wound up goose-stepping for garbage science by their king, Dr. Fauci. They're the ones who had a king, or Obama. You want me to do that too? Really crazy. Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, Phil says you're the ones Malcolm X warned us about. He did. You're the ones who barely even lifted a finger for this country. I'm just telling you. Got news for you. Those of you who Vietnam veterans, okay, you know what I'm talking about. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this name is Jim Talent, former United States Senator and overall good guy. Mr. Talent, how are you, my friend? You got sick over the weekend. You okay? What happened?
Oh, yeah, I'm recovering. I caught some, what I used to call the creeping crud. You know, it's one of those colds that creeps through your sinuses and your I guess your chest is what I would call it. So no, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah,
I'm a little hoarse. I'm glad I'm not a radio host.
Yeah.
What do you do, by the way? What do you do when you get something like this and you got to go on the air? What do you take? I've talked to different guys who do what you do, and they have different sort of things. Like one guy, hot water and lemon, and what do you do?
I don't get sick. That's what I do. Sissies get sick. I don't get sick. So.
Hey, wait a minute.
No, not you. I'm talking about you're talking about the radio people. No, you're on the radio. Take better care of yourself. Whoever doesn't show up because they have a cold. Come on, that's not professional.
I'm going to blame it on my 4.5-year-old grandson, who I took out I think it was Friday, and they're little petri dishes.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But I hope my immune system is not becoming senescent. That's a word I learned during the pandemic. Senescence. That means you get old and your immune system isn't up to snuff anymore. Because I rarely got sick. After I got sinus surgery in the early aughts, I went like 15 years without getting the cold. It was really great.
Yeah.
I recommend that surgery. If there's anybody listening who regularly gets sinus infections, go to a doctor and get an opinion on whether they need to root out your sinuses to make sure they're draining properly, because that was my problem for years. And this is when I was young, Jamie. I mean, the doctor told me, he said, the stuff I pulled out of your nose was the second worst I've ever seen. He said, the only worst was this old farmer in North St. Charles County. He said, in essence, you've had the same sinus infection for like 10 years. And whenever you get any kind of a little cold or anything, it reactivates. What
was the stuff he pulled out of your nose?
I didn't ask, and I don't want to know.
Gee whiz.
I assume it was a bunch of infectious material. Yeah, I was flying back and forth from Washington every weekend, and I got to the point where I just had a standing, I had a pill box of antibiotics, and the minute I started to feel sick, I started taking them because I just could not afford, to have sinus infections and then wait 2-3 days before I start the treatment. So, yeah, that was a great mercy from God that I got out from it. I'm serious about that. I mean, it was really nowhere near as bad. Of course, I know there are people listening struggling with real disease, but
no, people listening are struggling to avoid throwing up their lunch as you're describing stuff being pulled out of your nose.
Well, I thought it was good radio.
No, I'm just kidding you.
What I know.
And to your point about radio, guys, there are people who will come in, and I think they think that they sound like they're heroes because they can barely talk, but they're still doing their show. And it's really, you might as well not do it at that point, because for a lot of people, it's frustrating to listen. Not you, because you sound great, by the way. You sound fine. But people, it's like you might as well just go and have somebody else do the show at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. At a certain point, you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that's never happened to you, Jamie.
No, I just it's one of those things, because I'm a professional, and because I know what my demands are. Taking good care of my health was paramount.
Yeah, but what I did when I get these things, and I know you actually have.
I'm going to have like 101 degree fever tomorrow. I just know it.
Yeah, we're jinxing you. But now if I possibly can, when I get, and I don't get sick very often, I really don't. But when I do, I try and just go to bed, because if I can sleep, like for 24 hours, stay in bed, then I get over it a lot faster. And that's just more efficient than powering through. If I possibly can, I just rest.
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking about you the other day, Jim, because you and I had a really good discussion about the filibuster, and you really, as you always do, laid it out very clearly. And no sooner, and we're talking about nuking the filibuster, and then no sooner after that conversation, about 4 or 5 days later, I run across an interesting piece, and I couldn't tell you for the life of me where it came from now. But it was a person who basically made the case that Democrats have already nuked the filibuster because they misused the filibuster, and he made with this whole DHS thing and singling out ICE and all this stuff. And he said the reason why the filibuster has lasted as long as it has is because it has not been abused. And he also said that if you could imagine if Republicans during the days of Biden and they had some leadership in the House, whatever, but if Republicans had decided that they were going to, for instance, defund the FBI over perceived slights and James Comey and all their corruption, actually probably had a better case for defunding the FBI than the Democrats do for ICE. But nonetheless, had Republicans done that, and they could have done that, then the filibuster would have been a problem, and it would have been raised hackles. But the Republicans didn't do that because of the long-standing tradition of not misusing it. Now that it has been officially misused by the Democrats, that makes the further case that it might as well go ahead and nuke it now.
Well, this is the first time in my recollection where a Senate minority has closed the government. Now, the Republicans have closed the government when we had control. In other words, it was a majority doing it. This is the first time a Senate minority has done it. And the column is correct. It survived as long as it survived because there were informal practices and protocols in place where the vast majority of the time, if you opposed a bill in the Senate, that doesn't mean you filibuster. You let it come to a vote, and you voted against it and tried to beat it and tried to change it. But that has broken down, obviously. And then the other issue is, although closing the government, I think, is a net political loss for the party that does it, and I think that's true of the Democrats here as well, when the politics of the country is such that the parties perceive that what they need to do is to turn out their base, that's the primary thing, then they're willing to accept the loss or the risk of losing the middle on this issue because they don't think it's going to change how the middle votes, and they want to pump their base up. And that's the reason the Democrats did this last fall, and I think it's the reason they're doing it again today. They have to try to show that they're fighting, the resistance kind of thing. Now, one of the problems with that is that when what you're fighting is something that's actually very reasonable, which is what this is, right? It's just it's not reasonable to try and close down ICE, but in any event, ICE is not at stake here, right? It's the rest of DHS, which nobody in principle has a problem with. So then the longer you do this, the more difficult it is to keep the true facts from the people, and the greater the political risk you run with it. And so, but as of now, the political accountability hasn't worked as well because of what I said before. The people are more interested in ginning up their base. This is not, Jamie, a healthy political equilibrium that we're in now.
No.
I mean, I think pretty much everybody agrees with this. And there, I just coughed to validate the fact that I'm sick. See?
Well, and Jim, I will say, and you've been around long enough to see it as well, and just the way normal, average, everyday people react. And some people don't like it when I say this, but there are certain realities that we have to accept, is that most Americans live their lives fairly normally and with certain kinds of elements that require accountability. So you work for a boss who wants you to complete a project. You don't complete the project, and they ask why, and you blame somebody else because you didn't complete the project that was assigned to you. Similarly, I think most people, normal people, unfortunately, but they don't always watch, listen to the Allman Show, or they say, well, whoever's in charge, needs to be in charge. And I don't care who you're blaming for this or whatever. You need to fix it and get it done. And so I think just by human nature, I think there are a lot of Americans who will blame the Republican Party for this because they own the White House, the Senate, and the House. And for a lot of people, just practically, they can't figure out why you can't make things happen if that's the case.
Sure, I get it. And what I try to do, as you know, because you know we've talked a lot over the years, both offline and online, is people get upset at the right thing. So what needs to happen here, I would say at minimum, I actually wrote about this during the last shutdown, is I think we talked about it, is they need to change the filibuster rule at minimum to permit a simple majority in the Senate to pass a continuing resolution, keeping the government open. And without, you could even narrow it further and say, okay, you can't raise or lower spending in that from the previous year, but to keep the government open. That would then make this whole, if they did that, then you never have a Senate minority try to shut the government anymore because they couldn't do it, and we could avoid this whole thing. They would have to look for other tactics. But the problem is, I mean, I'm assuming this, I'd bet anything on it, that Thune cannot get 50 out of the 53 Republicans to vote for that. And so you have to have a majority to do that. They'd vote to reopen the government, but they won't vote to change the rules. So if people want to get upset at whoever it is not willing to change the rules. Now, I'm going to add one other thing here. In the days before it was clear that the Democrats intended to eliminate the filibuster rule, you could make a very respectable argument, which many people that you and I, are in coalition with did make, that the risk of ending the filibuster was greater than the risk of continuing it. But now that the Democrats have said they're going to end it anyway, I just don't see the logic of leaving it the way it is, because I believe them when they say they're going to end it. So all you're doing is disabling yourself when you're in the majority. And I've said it, I've written it.
Yeah.
I don't get the logic of that now. So that's how I'd like to see this end. But there's a tendency to blame the leader, just as we always blame the manager or the coach when the team isn't winning. But in this case, I really don't think that Thune is the problem. Now, he can't say that. He can't call people out. For the same reason that you'll rarely see a coach or a manager call out the specific players on his team who are screwing up, because he's got to hold the team together, right? But I don't feel sorry for Thune. This is the price of leadership. I was a legislative leader in the 80s, and you have to be willing to take the heat. But I really want people to understand what's actually going on in Washington.
Well, if you mention the team aspect of it, though, Thune says, "Well, I got to keep the team together," but that doesn't seem to be a concern of the team, keeping the team together, and that is to win.
Or some members of it.
Yeah, some members of it. Yeah, I mean, and that's what's frustrating.
They can't get to 53. That doesn't mean they can't get to 47 or 48. And
yeah.
I will tell you, Jamie, I have lived this. Okay, I've lived it in Congress. I've lived it in the Missouri House, where I was the actual leader. And trying to get virtual unanimity among a group of people is very difficult.
Yeah, I get it.
And, imagine if you were in the Congress and the leader came to you and said, "Jamie, I need you to do this for the team. I know you don't agree with it, but what would you say?" I know what Jamie Allman would say.
Well, it depends on what the goal, I guess, is. But I always thought if the goal is...
I shouldn't say that.
If the goal is...
you have to convince people on their terms, and sometimes you can do it. So if you want to say that, and look, Thune is a friend, that's not why I'm doing this. I did the same thing with McConnell. I did the same thing with Frist when we were in the Senate, when I was in the Senate. I know how difficult it is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you're right. It needs to happen, and if it doesn't, the time is going to come when the people who refuse to do it look pretty stupid when the Democrats do it.
And then it doesn't help when you have lawmakers, both Democrat and Republican, being escorted around TSA lines and on video. So that doesn't help. That doesn't help either in terms of the trust in the overall institution of governing.
I agree. That was just. I mean, I never did that because the idea of that just froze me. So I never I never did that. Can I make one more comment here?
Yeah.
Let's go to the substance of the problem here, which I have to tell you I think is the left. So look at what Trump is actually doing. I mean, the policies he's actually following. He wants more energy policy. He wants to use police forces, or if necessary, the National Guard to keep down crime. On the cultural front, he doesn't want boys to play on girls' teams. He wants to end DEI, which is racism against straight white men mostly, but a whole Asians too, and a whole lot of people. If you go down the list, he wants to deport people who are in the country illegally. Trump is not following an agenda which is substantively radical at all. All of these things have been supported in the past by the Democrats. You've seen the videos,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And yet the Democrats have to oppose it, some because they're radical enough they want to, the others because of their base. And so when you have to oppose something that is not radical and you have to call it radical, what do you have to do? You have to tell falsehoods about it, which just roils everything up even more. And Trump is not Barry Goldwater. He doesn't want to get rid of Social Security, right? So it's a very difficult problem, and they have to find a way. You get people like Rui Teixeira and Rahm Emanuel who are telling them this. They have to find a way to be able to move back into the world of what has traditionally been sane policy.
Yeah.
Or we're going to continue to have these difficulties, because it's not a good thing either to govern over and over again by purely partisan majorities on what are basically centrist things. We're seeing this with the war now, and I know you wanted to ask about it. I mean, all of a sudden, it's like, well, Iran's not that big of a problem. Iran has been called the chief state sponsor of terrorism for 47 years.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, here's the thing. I got to take a break, and I realize that you're having trouble, but that's not my problem. And we want to still listen to you and make you suffer. So
then you got to give me during the break. You got to give me something I can take. What should I take? Lemon water.
You have any bullet rye there in your liquor cabinet?
Yeah, a little hot toddy. There we go. I don't think I have time to make it.
Okay.
I told you before, I'm not a day drinker, my friend.
I know.
Even for the sake of your show. So.
I know. I tend to be a corrupting force in Jim Talent's life. All right, well, hang on, and then I'll get you back here if you don't mind, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right, thank you so much. That is quite the gamer he is, Jim Talent, who's going to stick with us because we do have a few things to talk about regarding what is happening in Iran. Yeah. And there's a statement, it's a leaked phone call from some Muslim dude running for state senate in Michigan. It's not working out well for him. Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, when it comes to what is happening with your hardware store, you want to make sure that you've got a store that is old school. And even though it's more than 100 years in Old Town St. Peter's, it's not old at all. Because you walk in there and you're going to see Jerry and Charlie and the rest of the crew there, and you're also going to see brand spanking new and the newest frontier in battery-powered lawn equipment and yard equipment. And it is the Stihl products, Stihl. It is the brand new, the newest technology, the best you're going to find anywhere in the land, and it really is priced just right. And they are the dealers of the steel. They also are the ones who will repair them, and they have the parts and everything else. So this place, man, you walk into this place, and again, it's been there for more than 100 years. You walk into this place, it's like, and I don't want to mention like Home Depot, but the reality is it's got everything you can get there. Does it have paint? Yes, it has paint. They have all kinds of different, they have an entire paint section. They have an entire shovel and rake section. They have an entire just power tool section, all those kinds of things, and all kinds of fun stuff too for your yard. You know, if you want the American flags or you want some solar lights or whatever, they have that kind of stuff too. So it's really kind of fun. It's like a little bit of a hardware Disney World, if you want to ask me. I have some video that I'll put up on the Facebook page this week. I've been meaning to get to it, been so busy with everything, but I will put it up there because this is going to be your springtime yard planning or spring cleaning or spring odd jobs, whatever you want to do. You'll be able to see everything you need and get the great advice you need from the pros at Schneider's True Value Hardware. So it's truevaluehardware.com/Schneiders, truevaluehardware.com/Schneiders.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by the Walner Home Selling Team.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's your happy Monday. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. So, I want to get to this really quickly before I get back to Jim, because it is related to what is happening in Iran and all that other mother jazz. So I want to get to this. So this is a leaked phone call from a person who is running for the Democratic Senate. He is there in Michigan and running for a Senate seat. His name is Abdul El Sayed. And obviously, you know, there are a lot of Muslims in Dearborn, and we never believe that all Muslims support evil Muslims and all that kind of stuff. But then you hear a leaked phone call from El Sayed about the people of Dearborn and how he doesn't want to comment on the death of Khamenei.
I want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. Mm-hmm. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that.
Oh, okay. So this is a guy apparently who has a beat on his constituency, his Muslim constituency there in Dearborn, and says actually there are a lot of people who are sad about the U.S. offing Khamenei. And oh, great. Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator, we're talking about Iran and beyond. And, man, that's disturbing only from the standpoint of how these people are in the United States of America but sympathetic to a guy who's clearly a terrorist and a killer. That's pretty unsettling.
Yeah, although, and I don't know Dearborn, but Khomeini was not loved in the Muslim world. And I doubt that many Muslims would be responding that way. I think to the extent he's saying that about the United States, says, "Oh, I just don't agree." Remember, he's a Persian and Shia, and I don't want to get into Muslim divisions, but and was trying to hold the whole region hostage and dominate the region, and had made a lot of progress in doing that. So I don't think the people around. I don't know what extraction these people from Dearborn are, but I don't know that I buy that.
Yeah, well,
he
apparently felt that strongly about it, that he didn't want to comment on it at all. But anyway, how do you think?
Well, and I guess he understands Dearborn or thinks he does, but I don't think these people understand the Middle East at all. They just, there's so many, on a certain part of the left that, they see anybody who's opposing the United States as, a potential ally. That's how you get queers for Palestine and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's, and the rest of us looking at it, we're going, what? Anyway.
Yeah.
But again, I don't, Dearborn's not my stomping ground. So.
Right. All right. So how do you feel about how things are going? Everything kind of is in a little bit of a lull, although we have had some trading of missiles and that kind of stuff. So how do you think things are going?
Well, we're finishing up the immediate objective, which was to destroy their capacity to harm us, our people, our interests, etc. And I've said on the show and many times, I knew we were going to be able to achieve that. I mean, the people who say that we're not achieving that show they don't understand anything, not only about the Middle East, but also about the capabilities of the American military under circumstances like this. And just that's forgetting about the Israelis when you add that to it. So how long? I mean, the president said originally like 4 to 6 weeks. We're now a month in. I think another couple of weeks maybe to exhaust the target list. I mean, he could break it off now, I think. And then the question is gonna revert to us opening up the strait. I mean, now I don't want to say I'm guessing, but when I look at the logic of the situation and what the administration has said, we're going to open up the strait, which we can do. And I think it's important to demonstrate to the Iranians that they can't close it unless, when we don't want them to close it. That operation, I'll just say a word about that because I don't think most people have an idea of what that entails, and I wouldn't either, except I've talked to my navalist friends. So, I mean, basically, to simplify the thing, we're going to have about 10 to 14 destroyers in and around the strait. They're going to be between the freighters and the shoreline. Then we're going to have fighter cover, and also we're going to have cover from these slow-moving but extremely destructive aircraft like the A-10.
Yeah, the Warthog, man.
Yeah, exactly. So we will be smoking everything that moves on the shoreline while we are providing missile defense to the freighters. And then obviously there's, it's going to be closely coordinated. I suspect this is going to be multinational, or at least it will ripen into that, depending on how long it goes. We don't need that, but the president's working for that now, and I think that would be a good international statement. And meanwhile, while we're doing that, the Israelis are going to be assisting the protesters who are coming out and trying to take the regime out from the inside and certainly distracting it. So
and the dispatching of those A-10 Warthogs is a great example. These are low flyers and low-speed attack dogs, and it just proves that we have disabled their air defense enough to be able to fly these babies.
Yeah, and again, that was always going to happen. And when a nation, let me put it this way, Jamie, if you're ever running a country with an extensive shoreline, and you're an enemy of the United States, do not give the United States 6 to 8 weeks to build up its forces unless you have really, really good integrated air defenses. And I don't mean the Russians' S-400. And unless you have people who are really capable of operating it, because if you do, you're going to end up the way the Iranians are ending up. And so, that was pretty much a dead cert from the beginning. The strait will be a more delicate thing. But the Iranians are using their trump card, no pun intended, Now, the negotiations are going to go on at the same time. It is very common to conduct negotiations while you're engaged in war. And actually, it's possible, knowing Trump as a negotiator, that he may actually escalate for a bit while he's doing the negotiations because, of course, he's pressuring them, the old carrots and stick thing. I don't believe the president is going to give them any kind of a deal that other than what basically our bottom line is, because Trump is not the kind of guy to give somebody a better deal than he would have given them when they, before he increased the leverage on them. In other words, he offers them a deal, they don't take it. He then pounds the crud out of them for 5 or 6 weeks. He's not going to come back and give them a better deal. That's just bad negotiation. I think I would suspect an alien had taken over his body if Trump agrees to that.
All right, Jimmy. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Thank you for gutting it out. I hope you feel better. I know you're already feeling a little bit better. I also want to make sure that one of our listeners, Scott, pointed out on the Facebook page, he said, Jim Talent helped bring my daughter over from Uzbekistan. Great guy. So I'm assuming you helped them with an adoption or whatever it was.
Very kind of him. I love doing that sort of thing and respond back to him, tell him thank you.
Nice. It's Scott Epastali. I think I pronounced it right, but he loves you, and so far so good. Legal immigrant, all that stuff. Great. And thank you for that. Just want to leave you with that note that someone thinks Jim Talon's a sweetheart. So we all do, but you know what I'm saying. All right, buddy.
Thank you, Jamie.
You have a really good rest of your day. That is Jim Talon, former U.S. Senator, Common Sense Radio, people, the 3 Martini Lunch. We got a guy who's going to pop on because all of his loony boomer brothers and sisters were out on the streets over the weekend. We'll have that for you coming up.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Tuesday, April 7th, your community is on the ballot. And before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on.
School board, city council.
News Talk STL has you covered. Log on to newstalkstl.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot. Know the facts. Make your choice.
I think we need some kind of change.
Then get out and vote. Because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
My vote counts.
See the complete voter's guide at newstalkstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump has threatened widespread destruction of Iran's energy resources and other vital infrastructure if a deal to end the war is not reached shortly. Complicating efforts at diplomacy, the fact that no one really knows who's in charge in Iran right now, according to Republican Senator Tom Cotton.
The supreme leader and most of his key lieutenants were killed on the first day of the war. His son, who is widely believed to be incompetent, was at a minimum severely injured, and to my knowledge still hasn't appeared or been heard of outside of AI enhancements since then.
Tehran has struck a key water and electrical plant in Kuwait, and an oil refinery in Israel came under attack. A deadlock in relations between the GOP-controlled Senate and House is just the latest roadblock to reopening the Department of Homeland Security and ending chaos at many airports across the country. That kind of political infighting has led one nationally syndicated talk radio host to step away from the microphone and run for Congress himself. Chris DeGaulle announced he's running in the 6th Congressional District of Missouri and hopes his strong Christian faith will help lawmakers find common ground in Washington.
I lead a Sunday school class, and I try to lean into his word, because when it's all said and done, shutting out the noise and leaning into the truth of the word of God is really all we have. And if we don't lean into that, we will lean into the chaos, and it will drag us all down with it. I think that truth, that divining rod of truth, is so necessary in a world that feels often like it's gone crazy.
Until he formally announced his candidacy, Chris Stegall was syndicated nationally by the Salem Media Group, the parent company of this news network. He's seeking to replace retiring Missouri Congressman Sam Graves in this year's midterm elections. On Wall Street, it's been a mixed bag. The Dow right now is up 120 points, the NASDAQ down 120. More from townhall.com.
Hi, Mike Gallagher here, host of the Mike Gallagher Show. As we head into spring, there's some good news in the housing market. Rates have recently dropped. When rates drop, payments can drop. That can mean hundreds of dollars a month back in your pocket, money you can use to pay bills, reduce debt, or strengthen your financial position. That's why this is the time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. They're helping homeowners refinance into lower rates and reduce their monthly mortgage payments. Fellowship also offers a fixed rate line of credit for home projects or consolidating a high interest debt with fast approval and a predictable rate. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. That's 2 months of breathing room while you reposition financially. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before you make your next move, go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a breezy, warm day out there with a record high possible. The record high is 86, and we could hit 86 or 87 degrees this afternoon for a high under partly cloudy skies. Should stay dry. Overnight lows will be mild in the 60s tomorrow, again in the mid to upper 80s, right about where we are today. And then it looks like a chance of showers and thunderstorms moves in on Tuesday night into Wednesday and through the rest of the week. There will be periods of rain, not raining all the time, but some pretty significant rainfall totals by the time this week is over. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
When insurance companies know you're represented by Under Law, they know Under is not going to let you be pushed around. Their reputation is built on years of courtroom battles. If you suffer an injury or damage to your property, serve the insurance company notice you have Under Law on your side, a St. Louis firm you can trust to protect you at every term. Don't settle for less. You want to win? Believe me, Under wins. Under, O-N-D-R, underlaw.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding, because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Allman Report on News Talk STL. It's Common Sense Radio, people, and it's the 3 Martini Lunch. Fresh off a weekend watching these flat earther knuckle draggers out with their No Kings rally, bitchy, white liberal baby boomers. I think they were under the impression, at least somebody was on Facebook, that that's the greatest generation out there you're making fun of. It's like, I was like, no, it's not. It's the sons and daughters of the greatest generation. The greatest generation that freed the world, and indeed the United States of America, only to have these boomers goose-stepping for garbage science for their own king, Dr. Fauci. You see, they don't like kings unless the kings are theirs. You know, the Schumers of the world, the Maxine Waters of the world, Steny Hoyers of the world, who have been in Congress for 50 years. Multiple times, the time Stalin, Hitler, or anybody's been in power, so don't really understand it, which is why I need to take the specimen out of the cooler in my lab and start to do experiments on him. His name is Mark Kasen. Mark, I haven't talked to you in a while, brother. I and not for any reason. I do love you, and somebody was just telling me the other day how much they love you. In fact, it was one of my daughter's teachers. His name is Chris Livingston, and he says,
Chris is great.
He says to tell you hello. He is a super guy, and he's a great teacher, too. Girls love him.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
So I wanted to ask you something, because you are a man of two phones, and that's always interesting to me, and has been for the entirety of time I've known you. And so when Ashlyn called you, she called you on a phone number, and you wanted her to call you on a different phone. So that immediately smacks of some kind of deviousness on your part, because I don't know what's going on, why you can't be on the phone that Ashlyn called, but you have to do it the talk on the phone that you're currently on. What's going on?
Well, the one that I'm on right now is connected directly to Barack Obama's office, where we're evaluating people for things that we're going to do to you in the future. But yeah.
Yeah. So Barack Obama and his former FBI agents are listening in on our conversation, I assume, because they do that.
That too.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get, I hate to say it, but to stop the Nazi party. But
yeah.
Anyway,
right.
let me say this, and hopefully you understand this. I mean, I know you're extremely smart. I mean, you went to Wisconsin, to the university there. I mean, I don't know what happened. Somebody up there dropped you on your head, or I don't know.
I was like this before I got up there, so there was nothing. It didn't change anything. I just simply wound up making sure that I had a little coating of, I went up to Wisconsin and brought with me, those little brightener sheets you put in the laundry just to keep my color.
Gotcha. Well, look, here's the thing. You and I have discussed this 1,000 times. and that is that everything that Donald Trump touches dies. And I think somebody even wrote a book with that title. And the point is, it's true. I mean, who has a casino that loses money? Well, Donald Trump, of course, ends up bankrupt. But that's not what I really.
It's better than having a government. It's better than having a government that loses money. The casino losing money doesn't affect me. The government losing money does, and you guys are responsible for the government losing money.
No. He's actually destroying America right now. I mean, the markets are collapsing. Interest rates are going sky high. Inflation is on the rise. Jobs are being lost. What don't you understand?
Well, first of all, the inflationary numbers are always a direct result of what is happening in the world affairs stage. Most Americans are okay with that. We know that, for instance, gas prices are not going to stay high for long. The grocery store, again, I do the avocado test as long as I can. The other day, it wasn't only an avocado for $1; it was an avocado for 68 cents. So, I mean, the avocado prices are going down, whatever. But the reality is, the interest rate thing is a problem. And, of course, that is a direct result of what happened with this situation in Iran. And those, again, will topple down as soon as we're done with what we're going to do. And Jim Talon has already articulated that. But back to the No Kings rallies. First of all, were you out there?
Of course.
Really? Where were you?
Weedman and Manchester.
And it was your sign spelled correctly? Because Chris is pointing out, because even people on my Facebook post, the liberals who went on and tried to attack me couldn't spell. I don't understand that whole thing, because they were like, they were talking about my dog is smarter than Trump. I mean, THEN. I mean, there were a lot of like misspellings. Is that because of the baby boomer generation not adequately, maybe being flummoxed by their phonics, or how does that work?
So I guess that's sort of like when Donald Trump keeps calling it the Straits of Hormuz, when everybody knows it's only one strait, but he's such a moron, he doesn't know what he's saying.
Yeah, well, I don't. I mean, that doesn't.
You're talking about THEN and THAN, so I mean, this has got to be fair.
Okay, well, let's talk then about kings. So here you are talking about Nazis and things like that, and I made the case earlier and stated it very clearly that no one was more like Nazis than the same people out on the streets just the other day. During the time of Dr. Mengele Fauci, the king that these baby boomers worship, to the point where they were more than happy to close schools, close churches, close businesses, close restaurants, to have their brothers and sisters die alone in the hospital, to basically force vaccinations and also support the firing of our military for not being vaccinated, the forcing wearing of masks, which you actually still wear, at least that I could tell in some of your pictures. So I'm trying to figure out how are you actually being able to say that somehow Trump and we are the Nazis when we're all about freedom and you guys never have been? What kind of freedom do you support?
Well, first of all, masks and closing businesses and shutting down churches and all the things that were done to save lives, well, that made sense. And now you all have sent thousands of little children to concentration camps, and who knows what you're even doing to them down there. Many of those families banging on windows to try to get people's attention. Get us out of here, Panama. Panama's one.
Where is
Panama's
that? Okay,
one.
okay. You know, it's funny how you are all of a sudden concerned about children when Joe Biden, your king, never lifted a finger to try and track down the 300,000 unaccounted for children that came across the border. The only organization that has been able to recover these missing children to the tune of at least 5,000 is ICE and Tom Homan and these guys. And you guys never cared an ounce about these kids. Who knows where they are? Joe Biden never lifted a finger to try to look for them. So don't give me your stuff about caring for children.
Eichmann like concentration camps, and you're talking about I saved the kids.
Yeah, because they're out.
Jamie, the kids are being killed.
We, you know what? They'd be better off in concentration camps, considering where we can't account for them right now. They'd be, and whatever you call concentration camps is what I mean. They'd be better off in some kind of camp than they would be just floating around being abused, and heaven knows what is happening to them. And you guys didn't care an ounce about that. I mean, come on, you know that's a fact. Are you denying?
Yes, I'm denying it because we care about everybody, and we even care about you. But wait, we don't care about Donald, who claims in the latest craziness over the weekend that he and his family have the best genes on the planet, and therefore we should elect them to everything.
They probably
the man
do.
Is so ill. The man is ill.
I think Barron Trump is going to be an absolute monster, man. It's going to be great. He's going to be as taller than Lincoln, and he's going to be the president someday. I mean, there's no way
he's going to be drafted.
They're not. Nobody's going to get drafted. There won't even be boots on the ground and things. Listen. This I've never seen more people come out with such aimlessness than the people who came out for the No Kings rally. It's just kind of like it doesn't make any sense because they can't articulate what exactly they're against, except for the fact they lost an election and they can't tolerate it. I mean, I just don't understand this.
Well, Jamie, I gave you a list of things that people are against, and just like again, Trump said, amazingly enough, and I can't even say the word on the air because I don't want to get you in trouble, but he said, I don't give about housing. He doesn't give an F about housing. The man is ill.
You guys don't either because Biden went ahead and handed over legions of neighborhoods to the Chinese, so you guys don't care about housing either. Hey, wanted to ask you, especially since we're talking about the future of the Democrat Party as it relates to the leadership, I noticed that, like Politico, I don't know whether you saw this. This is being roundly mocked all over the world now. There's a guy who wrote an article about Rahm Emanuel. Apparently, there's some kind of effort to get Rahm Emanuel more credibility on the national stage as a potential candidate for 2028 for president.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is what was written about it. Listen to this. This is how Rahm Emanuel eats a salad. He rips open its clear clamshell container with two hands. He grabs the ramekin of the dressing. He pours it across the salad. Then he picks up the salad container, shaking it with an intensity and ferocity that forces the balsamic throughout, giving no quarter to the greens and the grilled chicken. This is material information, mind you, for his would-be 2028 Democratic presidential primary rivals, because how Rahm eats a salad is exactly how he is going to eat his opponents for lunch. It's like, that is, I've never seen the more romanticizing of eating of a salad. And also, Rahm Emanuel apparently eats a salad like everybody else in the United States of America. So we're not ready for more of this Barack Obama, resume puffery and all that stuff. And I hope you realize that's not helping Rahm Emanuel.
What are you going to do when there's a landslide against everything you're talking about in the upcoming election, which is only 7 months away?
You mean 2026? 2026?
What are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to be destroyed.
No, you guys,
and there are going to be impeachments and subpoenas and lawyers, and I mean, this is going to be amazing.
Most of your voters are back in Venezuela, Guatemala, Honduras, and whatever camps you're talking about there in Panama. So we don't have any concerns really about 2026. And you notice the one time a Democrat in that state election took over there in Mar-a-Lago, they've arrested a guy who was part of running the voting tabulation down there. He actually was physically handcuffed over the weekend. So you guys, if unless you steal the election or you find some way to bring all your voters back, I don't think there's much hope for you in 2026.
Wait till you see how this stock market decline ends in an absolute cave-in at the end. It is going to be phenomenal. People like us are hoping for all this disaster, which, as you know, I've been for some time because I knew it was coming. I mean, Donald has created it, and I want the American people to see it and feel it before we bring Franklin Roosevelt back to save your day.
If you are in a situation where you actually honestly believe that this is happening, you guys, you wish it would happen, and you try to make it happen, which is why the Washington Post had to correct a story they put out that the U.S. is planting landmines in Iranian neighborhoods. So you guys, we're back to the whole Vietnam War era where you guys are going to push this into a loss if it's the last thing you do. Fortunately, there are people who are smarter than your leadership in the Democrat Party who are not going to let that happen, but we know that you're wishing for it, and you would like nothing more than a bunch of Marines incinerated by the Iranians, but that's not going to happen.
Well, no. I just want the Marines to do what many of our senators have said, which is refuse illegal orders and walk away. Unfortunately, they'll be afraid to because Donald will probably kill them. But you know what? This thing is going to end the way I've told you for 10 years it was going to end, except for it just took a little longer. I thought 5 or 6. It's up to 10. This is McCarthy times a million. I mean, it's going to be a disaster.
Well,
this guy is going to be disgraced for American history as long as this thing is on the planet.
All right, we got you. Hey, by the way, so you're thinking that that you talked about Roosevelt. You do realize that if you guys were around during World War II and we had the same media we had during World War II, we'd all be speaking German. But we're not, and we're not going to let the bitchy white liberal baby boomers ruin our country again. We're not going to let that happen. So just let you know, hey, buddy, I got to go, but I appreciate you coming on the show.
And we will save you, I promise, Jamie. We love you all, and I love you especially.
Listen to you. You're like talking like one of the disciples of Jesus, and we love all of you. We love all of you. Thank you for your up to people moment. Enjoy Holy Week and happy Easter, Mark.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. I always tease Mark around this time of year and Christmas time, too, because Mark is Jewish. Although he never goes to temple, but whatever. I always remind him of Holy Week. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. Thank you for listening.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA. So we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A-plus rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't hate, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
A celebration 100 years in the making. The National Route 66 Centennial Kickoff Celebration, presented by Vital Farms. Thursday, April 30th through Sunday, May 3rd in Springfield. The celebration kicks off with musical guests featuring Little Big Town, Chris Jansen, Gary LaVox, Gretchen Wilson, the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and the Haygoods. Events continue through the weekend. You are invited to celebrate Route 66 with us April 30th. Tickets and information on Route66Kickoff.com. Brought to you by the Missouri Route 66 Centennial Commission.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station.
This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Window World, 800 Get Windows.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Common Sense Radio and the 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here, happy to be with you. Ashlyn over there, and still, he didn't really, I wasn't going to press him on it because it was like, I thought maybe he would offer it up as like what really is the reason why he had his 2 phones, which is suspicious enough anyway, but I'm sure there are other people with 2 phones because there's always somebody, I have 2 phones. It's like, okay. Well, hardly anybody has 2 phones. And I thought about having it just one for real estate, one for, but you know, I couldn't keep up. I could barely keep up with my 1 phone. And what's weird is that, you know, usually like some kind of like a guy who's some kind of player or gal who's some kind of player or whatever would have 2 phones. But when a guy like Mark Kasen has 2 phones, it obviously is a lot more suspicious because that would mean that it's something more sinister than just simply being a playboy because, you know, Mark's not one. So, you know, I mean, how do you kiss when you're wearing a mask? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, he never did answer the question about the 2 phones, and so I figured I just was going to let that go, but I will investigate it further. All right, L.A. There is this mayoral candidate named Spencer Pratt. So I don't know. Ashton, do you know who he is? Because he's a former reality TV star, so I don't really know much about him. His name is Spencer Pratt, and he's running against Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, after a reporter asked him that whether or not, and this is on TV here, whether or not being a reality TV star is hurtful for his campaign. Keep in mind, California really has a pretty high chance of having a lot of local turnover, and it might not be just Republicans. It might just be a lot of common sense Democrats. So, you know, because there are still some common sense Democrats. And you know what? Interestingly enough, California, as we've already talked about, California is an interesting political environment. There are a lot of really annoying left-wing people out there, but for the most part, there are some pretty decent Democrats and decent Republicans. In fact, Republicans are probably a little more moderate, but I wouldn't call Reagan that, although when he was governor of California, he was. And Richard Nixon really was not really, you know, Richard Nixon created the Department of Conservation. It wasn't like he's some kind of right-wing crazy. And then you had all the other people out there, as I've told you about. And Schwarzenegger, who was just kind of like, you know, a little milquetoasty, but he was still Republican, whatever. But there are interesting breeds that come out of there, And Gavin Newsom is probably the least interesting breed because he's a left-wing hypocrite in pretty much all the kind of worst of the Clinton vibe that you could possibly get. I'm surprised the Republicans haven't taken more of a seriousness about developing candidates who are not like Gavin Newsom. Then you have also the biggest one, which would be the Steve Hilton Republican, being basically the Republicans are at the forefront of polling for the next governor of California. And so that's a pretty big thing. So anyway, this Spencer Pratt guy has Karen Bass against the wall. Here he is.
What do you think? You're known as a reality TV star. Do you think that is, in your campaign for Los Angeles mayor to run the biggest city in California, is that a label that you embrace? Is that hurtful to your campaign, or does it help, you think?
I mean, the reality, pun intended, is that was from 20 years ago. And if we look at what Karen Bass was doing 20 years ago, she was in Cuba learning how to make bombs with the people that would then go bomb Capitol Hill. So if we're looking at backgrounds, I'm pretty proud of what I was doing at 20 on reality television, even though it was, I may not have been the most likable character. It was still TV versus trying to destroy America and going to Cuba 20 times and praising Fidel Castro. So against my opponent, my background's pretty strong.
So that's on local television in Los Angeles. That's on Fox 11. And a lot of people are saying, man, that guy is a lot like President Trump in terms of just how gutsy he is and no nonsense. And then, of course, there is a campaign video. And some actually are saying this is one of the greatest campaign videos of all time. And this is a depiction of Spencer Pratt taking out the trash, so to speak. And I'm talking about all of the things that are bedeviling Los Angeles, the homeless people, the criminals, the illegal aliens, Karen Bass herself. And it's a pretty good commercial. These are people lining the streets, and Spencer is wheeling this gigantic trash bin that has a bunch of people in it, Spencer Saca la Basura, and of course we know it's a playoff of Karen Bass's name.
Latino por Pratt, tú verás, mayor 2026.
Latinos for Pratt, it's a really good one.
Mayor Karen took a trip way off the map while the hills caught fire.
So then they're referring to her it looks like she's doing a selfie while, the Pacific Palisades were on fire. She was was it Haiti or whatever? Yeah.
She was posting from abroad, Palisades though out the Dana, smoke in the sky. We were coughing in the kitchen, she was saying, bye-bye. Spencer, saca la basura. Look what she left on our block. LA looking like a closet.
So then they show this picture in LA looking like a closet, and of all these people, the homeless people in tents and everything else.
The junk can talk. Spencer, saca la basura. Bag it up, roll it out to the street. Latinos por Pratt, we're singing, cause we're tired of this dirty beat.
It's pretty good. I mean, even the music's pretty catchy,
Said we ride that plane train, sleek and smooth. World Cup coming, nowhere to move. Just lines, delays, we're studying that. But every single pothole still attacks my tires flat. Spencer, saca la basura.
Talking about potholes and things like that.
All this spin from Hollywood to City Hall. Feels like the trash moved in.
So they're showing all these beaches like Venice Beach, Malibu, and all these places, and essentially it seems like the trash moved in. Basically, it's just a bunch of all these homeless people in tents and everything else. L.A. is really, really pretty hard to live in right now.
Sweep that nonsense fast. this clown show can't last.
And so you have pictures of him just kind of sweeping up all the homeless people, all the criminals, and everything else. It's really good. Because, in the end, and I really like L.A. Like, L.A. is kind of cool because it's more old school. Like nothing has changed, at least structurally and everything else, since like 1968 or 70. So it still has that kind of old school feel to it. And it still is a pretty, great California city. I remember going up to when my nephew got married in Ojai, California, which is kind of right above Malibu. And the place he got married in, now it was like a farmhouse. Everything else is now burned down because of the wildfires there, because again of a lack of management of forestry at the hands of Democrat leadership in California. But that's another story altogether. Remember when President Trump suggested raking the forests, and people are like, you stupid, raking, whatever. There actually is a need for forest management, so it doesn't wind up composting and then, of course, catching fire, which is how a lot of these wildfires start in California. Anyway, I was up Ojai, and then you drive along that Pacific Coast Highway there. It's really cool. And I'll never forget looking at the Dan Blocker Beach. Like, Dan Blocker from Bonanza, it used to be like a guy who lived in that area there, and so they basically named a beach after him. It's that kind of cool vibe that you get, and I really like it. So it's worth saving, and the fact of the matter is these people who live there have been betrayed by Democrat leadership. All the people who were living in homes that were legacy homes, like in the Palisades and beyond, were betrayed by the Democrats. And, of course, Newsom has refused to make it easier for permits to build and stuff like that. So it's been really, really bad. And those people deserve better. I think a lot of times we make fun of Californians and we think all the Californians are loopy and crazy and liberal and everything else, but not all of them are. But they just haven't been able to have an outlet for any kind of corrective activity. I think sometimes there's just not enough people out there voting and everything else. Now, speaking of Gavin Newsom, remember in 2023, Gavin Newsom did what was called a red state tour. So he visited Alabama, Florida, a few other red states, and somebody has uncovered video of his wife who was being interviewed and was asked why she brought her children along for the red state tour. And you can almost be sure that this is going to wind up somewhere, somehow, in an anti-Gavin Newsom commercial.
You took your 4 kids on this trip. You're here in Alabama now. Why was it important to you to take them on this trip to red states and learn about the history in our country?
That's a great question. Well, I don't think, or I know for a fact, that we don't get all of this history in our schools. And it's part of, enlivening them, building their curiosity, expanding their hearts, their empathy, so that they themselves can be the change they wish to see in the world, and recognize that, we have work to do and that we have healing to do. And so that they can be, use their voices to stand up and speak out when they see pain and suffering and bullying and racism and misogyny around them. And
you want them to see it so that they know.
I do.
So this is a guy who wants to run for president in 2028. His wife is on the record. At first you're thinking, oh, maybe she just wants their kids to see red states so that they can get a view that red state people are just like all of us. But no, that's not the reason why she brought her kids on the red state tour. She brought her kids on the Red State tour so she could expose them to racism, sexism, and bullying that allegedly, supposedly occurs in red states. And that's going to be a real problem for Gavin Newsom as he tries to run for president of the United States. This is actually a deplorable moment. And this is going to be turned, if anybody has any sense on the Republican side, or even for that matter, if they want to go after him as a Democrat, because there will be a primary, you need to get this on tape and show the brand new deplorables moment, this time for Gavin Newsom. Now, it is his wife saying it, but that's not going to matter unless, of course, maybe Gavin says that's not really the reason and he's got to publicly disagree with his wife. So we'll see whether or not he does that. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome. And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, just talked to Jeff Portman the other day because I'm working on a few things money-wise with him and really got a sneak preview. And I don't have nearly the kind of play around money that a lot of people do in terms of investiture, all that kind of stuff, and for retirement, because I'm not anywhere near retirement right now anyway. But he was telling me that there are all kinds of tools that the Gemini Wealth Group, the GeminiWealthGroup.com, all kinds of tools that the team uses to just make the most of money. And you can do that with a small amount of money. And I'm talking like if you're not even retiring, you at least can get started with the investment type of prowess that the Gemini Wealth Group really has. And they're really pretty amazing in that level. But when you are retiring, that's kind of what they're focused on mostly. They have tools that are investment tools, that are diversification tools, that will really grow your money. And you can be in a situation where you just want to grow it really super fast, or you want to kind of just have a more steady growth, whatever it happens to be. The Gemini Wealth Group will have you, will let you do that and help you do that through their really proprietary tools that they use to manage your money for retirement, which means the goal essentially is that you just live off your dividends and you don't really touch the actual big part of your portfolio until maybe later on. And that's what a lot of people need to go ahead and accept the permission slip to retire that the Gemini Wealth Group loves to give you. They also create a great plan for you, planning for whatever it is you're doing. You want to do travel, or you want to help the kids with college, or now what about your health bills, your housing bills, all that kind of stuff they take into consideration and then present you with a package that mostly is all about peace of mind and making sure you have the strongest portfolio you're absolutely going to have. And the Gemini Wealth Group, you've got more than 100 years in investment and diversification, as well as wealth management expertise, more than 100 years combined with the Gemini Wealth Group. These guys are really super amazing at what they do, and I want you to get a hold of them and go ahead and get that permission slip to go ahead and run into your golden years with your partners being the Gemini Wealth Group. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, the GeminiWealthGroup.com.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
I was elected in 2023 to bring common sense and conservatism back to the classroom. Despite my hard work, there's still much to do. Hi, my name is Jane Pushkar, and I'm running for the Francis House School Board. I can continue the hard work of fiscal responsibility, parental rights, and returning to research-based curriculum and resources. It's a tall order, but after successfully removing many pornographic books, I've proven that parental rights are never to be ignored. Your vote is critical this year, so please vote for the top 3 conservative candidates on the ballot.
Paid for by Citizens for Jane Pushkar. Ron Pushkar, Treasurer.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Gemini Wealth Group.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Jamie Allman here and Ashton over there, and happy, beautiful Monday. So, man, this is, sometimes it's really depressing sometimes to have to kind of deal with some of these stories, but you guys have heard of the Waffle House, right? And you guys have heard that, like, even at the Waffle House, even like the people who work there get into fights with each other. Like, if you go onto YouTube, you can see videos. Just search Waffle House fights, and you'll see that there are like more than 50 videos of fights at Waffle Houses. And oftentimes it's like the employees fighting each other. So I don't know why people still go to the Waffle House. And I'm not blaming the victims here, but this guy, he's a young guy from Texas. And, he's a straight A student, whatever. And they were at the local Waffle House when the kid noticed a friend who was being attacked by a group of criminals in front of a group of teens. And when he tried to go ahead and help him, he wound up getting shot and is now paralyzed. And it's like, why does anybody go inside a Waffle House these days? But this is where it actually kind of gets more serious than just, a fight and waffle. And I realize it's open late, right, Ashley? Is that the thing? It's like it's open overnight or whatever. But my goodness, why would you go? I mean, every Waffle House is such a ghetto in its own place. It doesn't matter where it is. It could be in the best neighborhood around, but the ghetto is isolated at the Waffle House. I mean, they just should call it Ghetto House is what they should call it. But no offense, Waffle House. I'm sure Waffle House is thrilled. But nonetheless, I mean, come on. All you have to do is like, hey, should we go to Waffle House? It's like, no. I think the only people who still go to Waffle House are people who haven't heard about Waffle House yet. That's all I'm saying. I did see once, it was really super early in the morning, like the International House of Pancakes. Is that still a thing? Right? I have one in my neighborhood. IHOP? Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The other thing I miss in terms of because Waffle Houses have been around forever, my goodness. But I remember the old Howard Johnson's. Remember the Howard Johnson's restaurants where you could get fried clams? Golly, well, I guess it happens. It's kind of the same way America Online went by this wayside. Like, how could you possibly have ruined your brand, let somebody take over your brand? Like, staying at the Howard Johnson was like the coolest thing when I was a kid, with the orange roof, and the blue siding or whatever it was. They always had a pool and the groovy room keys, and they always had an attached restaurant. And it was staying at the Howard Johnson's was really super groovy, but I just don't know whatever happened to all that. All right, on to NCAA. And, man, I'm telling you, I was talking to Ethan Way, our sales guru here. It looks like Eli and I might actually go all of the way. We'll see how it goes. So you think that, man, I love the Final Four tournament, love all this stuff. It's a ton of fun. And I've been really watching it intently to a certain degree. I watched that UConn-Duke game. That was crazy. Duke, man, I don't know. Deserved to lose that one. And Illinois, of course, all over Tennessee. So everything was great. But here we are. And I like Charles Barkley because oftentimes he's really funny. And he used to go after Shaq, when they had that little show when they do baseball and stuff. And their interactions are pretty funny. But for some reason, Charles Barkley decided, I'm going to talk about immigration during the NCAA halftime show.
Words right now.
Okay.
I want to be very careful with my words right now.
Okay.
Because this is a really touchy subject for me.
Why?
I love that kid and his family. But the way some of these other immigrants are getting treated in our country right now.
So he's talking about this Ukrainian who is a great player. He's a star on UConn. His name is Alex Karaban. And they talked about how his mother arrived in Massachusetts from Ukraine with her parents and grandparents back in 1996. And then Karaban's father, Alexei, immigrated to the U.S. from Belarus on a work visa. And so that's how it all happened. But apparently, Charles Barkley decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and launch what would be easily described as an Illinois, as a misinformed view of what this is all about and immigration and everything else. Totally ill-advised. But he went ahead and ran his mouth anyway, so here we go.
I want to be very careful with my words right now.
Okay.
Because this is a really touchy subject for me.
Why?
I love that kid and his family. But the way some of these other immigrants are getting treated in our country right now is a travesty and a disgrace.
And you know what the code here is, right, that Barkley's trying to convey? If this kid were not white, you wouldn't hear anything from Charles Barkley on this matter. But the kid's white. So you get where he's going with this, that he thinks that because he's white, he got better treatment than people who are of brown skin. Charles Barkley might say it directly if he had any courage at all, but he doesn't, so he has to do kind of the underlying truth and speak in code, but we know what he's talking about.
I think there's a difference between amazing immigrants and criminal immigrants. And I think what's going on in our country, what we're doing to some of these amazing immigrants is really unfortunate and it's really sad. And
I'm trying to figure out, so what amazing immigrants? I'm trying to figure this out. And plus, they're aliens. They're illegal aliens. So it's not like people are just the ICE is going after people who are here legally. Like this Ukrainian kid is here legally, so are his parents. They're not going after people who are here legally. And so Charles Barkley sounds like an idiot. And I wish he didn't, because I like him. I think he's pretty funny. and I really actually appreciate a lot of his commentary, but this is completely ill-informed and really basically a lie that somehow this Ukrainian guy is being treated better than other amazing immigrants when when legal immigrants are not being deported or arrested.
That's a great immigrant story. We have a lot of great immigrant stories out there who their stories need to be told, but some of the stuff that's happening to immigrants in our country right now is really unfortunate and it's really unfair. But immigrants built this country, and we should admire them and respect them.
Yeah, you should shut up because you don't have the information necessary for you to sound even remotely intelligent over all this. And again, I don't mind when people of certain celebrity status start to speak their minds. I mean, I've got a microphone 2 hours a day. I'm privileged to have that. I don't blame people for using their forum or their platform for something they're concerned about. But when you're basically up there and you're trying to sound intelligent and yet you really look stupid and ill-informed and you're comparing apples to oranges, you might as well not even open your mouth. I realize you got to make the speech because you think it's going to make you famous and all the people are going to love you. But even the most liberal people know that Charles Barkley doesn't know what he's talking about. So, sorry, Charlie. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Ashlyn, thank you so much. Tony Colombo and Company on the way. This is Common Sense Radio and the Allman Report.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hi, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, capitalism, that is increasingly under attack. But why is a free market system so important?
The simple answer, society is much better off because of free markets. Free markets allow individuals and business owners to freely choose what to consume, how to save, where to live and do business, what to produce, and how to protect